Alexa, play Disruptive FM.
You'd like to listen to Disruptive FM, right?
Yes.
Press play. He's the voice of the intersection of marketing, tech, and popular culture. Thinking is his commodity. DJ, data punk, stylish sock collector, and author of the book Disruptive Marketing. Geoffrey Cologne is your host of Disruptive FM, the marketing podcast for eccentric minds.
It's Friday. It's another episode of Disruptive FM, the marketing podcast for eccentric minds. I'm your host, Geoff Cologne, and Cheryl Metzger is on assignment this week. But I figured instead of not doing an episode, it would be fun to bring in one of the greatest minds
who happens to be drinking a beer
and works at Microsoft with me. And that's James Whittaker, distinguished fellow. What is your title?
My official title is Distinguished Engineer. Some people call me a technical evangelist. I drink and I know things.
You drink and you know things, which is what I love.
Off the Tyrion Lannister on that one.
So, let's, talk a little bit about fun things that, Tyrion Lannister is involved in terms of Games of Thrones, and that's a subject you love, which is storytelling.
Storytelling, and what a good story that is. If George R.R. Martin, if you're listening, write some shit, dude. We need you to write. Stop talking. Stop going out in public. Write some stuff. Yeah, storytelling is kind of my thing. In fact, I taught a class this morning, and I like to mess with people a little bit in my storytelling. People are concerned with success. People are concerned with their careers. People are concerned with promotion, and people think, I'm just going to work harder and get this next promotion. I'm going to do something that will impress my boss. And no one ever thinks about how other people perceive them.
No.
Inside their own head, they're like this superhero. Inside their own head, all their work matters. Inside their own head, they are like the crucial person on the team. And so in my storytelling class, I try to get people out of their own head, because it doesn't matter what you think about yourself. It doesn't matter how impressed you are with your product and your contribution to your product. Storytelling is about what other people think, and storytelling is about changing other people's minds. I don't really care how good your idea is. If you can't convince someone else it's good, your idea dies on the vine. And so for me, storytelling is a very personal thing. It's your ability to represent your own personal brand.
Yeah. And that's a good question. Personal brand. I mean, how important is it now in the 21st century? Because we rarely ever talked about these things even like 5-6 years ago, James.
Yeah, personal brand is kind of a new term, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's really important, right? Because we didn't talk about it before social networking. Because there was really no such thing. I mean, you are the combination of the person I know, the Geoff I know in person.
Yep.
The Geoff I know on social media.
Yep.
The Geoff I know by reputation. The Geoff I know based on your past work, which are all online now. It's very difficult to contain that.
Yeah.
And so you've got to manage it. You've got to manage the projection of you into the actual world. And that's called personal brand.
And do you think we are really moving into this world because of everyone's personal brand, where we almost become free agents in some respect? What do you think?
We're moving into this world because we don't have any choice. The world is crowded now. I mean, you think about in the 70s, before technology kind of took over the world, and if you had a band and you could play decent music, you were probably going to get famous. You were probably going to get a record contract because there were so few people who could do that. And now, great bands are a dime a dozen, man. You can walk around Seattle, you can walk and go into any random music venue and rock your ass off. You know, they're great. Talent is everywhere.
Yeah.
And so, when everybody's talented, when the world is packed full of talent, how do you get your particular talent noticed? And that's about your brand, and that's about your projection of your brand to potential customers.
Well, so tell our listeners a little bit about your brand. I mean, you have a fascinating background. I love when I've seen you speak, and I hope everybody gets the opportunity to do so, because I was like thinking for days on end after I've seen you speak, and I've seen you speak, I think, 2, maybe 3 times. I mean, tell me,
return customer.
Exactly.
Have I sold you a shirt and a book yet?
Yeah, I guess that's the next step, right? No, but tell me a little bit, or tell the listeners a little bit more about your personal brand and why you sort of, I guess, why you've decided to choose the path that you have. I mean, I find you to be very different from most people I meet here at Microsoft.
Different is definitely a word used to describe me. I'm not your typical, corporate denizen, and I don't represent myself on stage in a very typical manner.
Mm-hmm.
And it's purposeful. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make a difference. Anybody can stand up and give a talk on any subject and basically bore their audience to tears, right? You see this all the time. I mean, how many times have you gone to a talk, you sit through the whole thing,
yep,
you're bored to tears, you're looking at your phone, just trying to entertain yourself, trying to maintain some simulation of interest, and then you walk away and it didn't make an impact on you. And so, my idea is I want to make an impact on the people. If an audience is going to gather to listen to me, then they should walk away better for the experience, or maybe worse for the experience, but they should walk away thinking. They should walk away with their brain on fire, whether that's positive, which is most of my audience, or negative.
Yeah.
It's the people who walk away and not being effective. They personally piss me off. I love my 5-star reviews on Amazon. I love my 1-star reviews on Amazon. It's the 3s that piss me off.
That's right.
Like, take a side, man. Get off the fence.
That's right. Oh. Yes, it's like, like you said, 1-star reviews actually are good, because you're like, all right, this person doesn't agree with me, but they're strongly opinionated, maybe with not agreeing with me.
And you invoked that opinion. That's what's cool about the 1-star review.
That's right.
I got into you. I got into your head. I got under your skin, and I affected you so much. You had to take time out of your day to talk about how much you hate me or hate my message.
That's
to me,
right.
That's success.
That's total success.
Total success.
But that leads me to a question. A lot of people, that's success, I think, now. But a lot of people still are stuck in this world where it's like, hey, 1-star, that's a failure.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? I mean,
no, you can't please everybody, and if you try to please everybody, you're going to end up pleasing nobody. You're going to be just another vanilla flavored old white dude that somehow manages to succeed just because you never pissed anybody off. Who wants to be that guy? Who wants to be that person that just did what they were told, followed all the rules, kissed the right ass, managed to politic your way into the right project? Dude, when I get, 70 or whenever I give this up, 80, 90, I don't know, I'm hoping for modern medicine to keep my ass alive. I don't want to look back and know that I succeeded because I did what other people expected.
Yeah.
I want to know that I succeeded because I made a difference in other people's lives. And one of the reasons I take the stage so often, and I probably shouldn't, right? I've been, the complaints about my language, the complaints about my subject matter, the complaints about my, non-political correctness are frequent enough that I know I'm doing something to get inside people's head, but I think the younger generation needs to hear it. I think more people my age, late 40s, early 50s, that kind of era, we're still young enough to relate to the younger generation, and they need us. They need people who are experienced and have been through it, to mentor them through it. And so I'm laying it on the line, and I'm doing it for the next generation, because this age of the old white guy circling the wagons, trying to maintain relevance for one more decade, it's coming to an end.
Yeah.
And the millennials, they're diverse. The millennials embrace gender identities of whatever form. They embrace people of different opinions and different color, because diversity is not just about the color of your skin and the hardware you got between your legs. Diversity is about how you think, all the experiences you've had in life up to now that make you who you are. And everybody's got a unique perspective, and everybody needs to understand that perspective is valuable.
So, looking at the diversity of sort of the experience you have, what are some things that you look back on that you're like, maybe at the time you were like, wow, this is terrible, but, looking back on it, you're like, I'm really glad I went through that, because that was a good learning lesson.
Oh, the FBI, man. I was the first computer science graduate hired by the FBI. My job was to automate caseloads.
Whoa.
And that job blew chunks. I mean, on paper, it looked so good. I had a badge, I had a blue light in my car, I had, oh my gosh, you talk about a job that's braggable. And I nearly got sucked into it. When you have a cool job, right?
That's right.
The people who worked for Microsoft in the 90s, Google in the 2000s, Apple in the 2000s, they're like, oh, look at me, man,
That's
I work for the cool company. I could have ridden that. I could have milked it. And I didn't. And I'm so proud of myself for saying, you know what? This job doesn't matter. There's 100,000 people who can do this job just as good as me. I can lie to myself and say, this shit matters, man. We do that. We do that.
Yeah.
We lie to ourselves about how great our job is. It might actually be an evolutionary thing that we do it because we know we need to make a living. We know this is good for, us, our family, our kids. And so we have to lie to ourselves to keep ourselves doing what we're doing just to make a paycheck.
Yep.
But I learned that very young. Don't lie to yourself about whether you love your job or not. Actually go out and seek a job that is worth loving.
This is very good beer, by the way.
Let's see. So we got a kegerator right outside this door that's on the Internet of Things, which is kind of cool. I'll tweet some pictures of it. But I think this is Bellevue Brewing IPA that we're drinking, and it's just bloody delicious.
And it's perfect, I think, today because it's just the type of temperature outside where, it's a little warm, so I actually am enjoying the cold freshness of this.
The cold freshness of the beer and the strength of it and that nice hoppy.
And you add in the good conversation here. I mean, you can't ask for a better Friday afternoon.
Sounds good to me. So speaking of conversation, what else you want to talk about?
I'm curious to see where you think storytelling may evolve. So, I'm always curious because you love the subject, you love talking about it, but
I do.
Where do you think it'll evolve next, and how do you see it sort of reshaping how people respond to it?
Well, I'll tell you what. Storytelling is going the way of being more important than the brand itself, more important than the product itself, because storytelling evokes a feeling about the product. It's not just something that you use and you forget. It's not just something that you need. It's something that you truly love, and it's something that you want to be part of your life, and it's something that you're proud of. It's something that you talk about. So, when you go out with friends, listen to them. What are they talking about?
Yeah.
Are they complaining about the products in their life? Are they saying, oh, I bought this thing the other day and I love it. It does all this stuff for me. Listen to that. Marketing people should really be in tune with what people are saying about the products that are in their lives. Yeah. And when people love a product, that's an emotional response. Listen to that. And then ask yourself, are they talking about your products that way? Are your products just something that they need and have to get through their day with, or is it something that they have invited into their life and they talk about in very loving terms? Because our devices now, these devices that we keep in our pockets, they're very personal. This isn't just a phone. This is my phone, and if I lost it, I think I'd rather lose my wallet than this. This phone, right?
Probably less things in that wallet in this day and age.
It's so hard to replace. So it's not just the device itself.
Yeah.
It's my device. And so the more that people relate to that. Start digging into why. Marketing people really need to understand this. This is emotional connection. We've got choices now.
Yeah.
And your product isn't special. You may think it's special. Oh, we've got this feature, we've got that feature. People don't care about features. People care about emotional connection to the products. And so listen to the people talking about the devices and the products and the software and everything that they're using, and listen to those words. And I bet all of those products that people say, I love this product, there's a story behind the product and not just a feature list.
Mm-hmm. So this almost makes me want to ask a non-PC question, because you're talking about emotions. Do you think, looking back on this past year, that Donald Trump used that emotional sort of...
So Trump, okay, so let's...
to sort of to ride into the White House.
Dude, let's be honest for a second. Do you remember a single thing Hillary Clinton said?
No.
During the entire campaign?
I did not.
Do you remember what her campaign motto was?
No, I don't. I do not. I do not. That's a problem.
But I bet you remember build a wall.
Yes.
I bet you remember drain the swamp.
Yes.
I bet you remember lock her up.
Yes.
Right? And Donald Trump, as hard as it is to admit, he taught the world a bunch of lessons about storytelling.
Yes, he did.
Short, simple messages that people can understand, repeated over and over and over again, help people get to that point where they made an emotional connection with the guy. And there's nothing he could do wrong. He could grab anybody by whatever body part he wanted to grab them by. People had already made a decision.
Yeah.
And that's an emotional decision. It's not a logical decision. Marketers, you need to understand this. A logical decision would be, oh my God, this guy has done some abhorrent things. I can't be... Even despite that, the emotional connection was stronger.
Yes.
And so you make that emotional connection, it literally overrides everything else. It might even be the reason why I get by with swearing in a lot of my talks and being very controversial. And I won't just talk smack about my competitors during an internal talk. I'll talk smack about Microsoft. I will pick apart our flaws and display them in a way that makes people, wow, they get really uncomfortable. But because they've already made an emotional connection with me as the messenger, I can get by with that.
Yeah.
And so work on that. As a storyteller, you need to work on that. What is the emotional connection that I can make?
Do you think that by making that connection, you're able to sort of pivot and use this sort of vice as virtue, as you're stating? Like, you are able to pick apart the company, but people trust you because they're like, well, wait a minute, I actually have a connection with this person.
I actually think that's authenticity.
Okay.
Right. My stage persona
Yes.
And my real life persona
is the same thing.
Same thing.
Yes.
Right. What you get is what you see. I'm like the WYSIWYG of stage presence. Because you meet me in real life and you see me on the stage. I mean, how many times have you met somebody on the stage and you have a beer with them afterwards? You're like, hey, wait, where'd that nice dude on the stage go?
That's right.
You're an asshole.
That's
now.
right.
Right. I'm the same both ways. So and that is authenticity. That's a genuineness that people. They trust what I say because they know I'm only displaying one face. I don't have two faces.
That's right.
And so that authenticity is important to me. And yes, I get flack for it. In fact, I got flack for it today. One of my videos was yanked down for a while and censored because I said fuck a couple times, right? And some words like that. And I would be interested to see if this one gets censored. So
most likely won't, because this is technically not a Microsoft podcast. It's my podcast.
Well,
so
cheers to that.
Yeah.
So I get some flack for it. But the thing is, I've built up a following, and there's an army of people behind me that have. I was almost going to say like Donald Trump. I just can't say that, but that have decided, my genuineness is worth hearing a few words that maybe make them uncomfortable.
Yeah. And
I actually even explain the neuroscience behind the F word, because the F word lights up your brain.
Yes.
Crazy.
There's been a lot of studies on this that people who swear in meetings and presentations are actually
considered as morons.
Yep. But I've actually read stuff that swearing actually is a good thing because it actually means a person's trustworthy because they're real, they're authentic. I mean,
I'm not afraid of my real self. I mean, I speak this way in regular language. If we were having a beer at a bar and there were no microphones, we would be having this exact same conversation.
Yeah.
And so storytellers out there understand that this is important. If people think you're an actor, they're not going to relate to you as well as if they think they're hearing from the real you. And so the real Geoff, the real James, people want that. People want those little personal insights. They want to know who you really are.
So I wanted to ask a question on creativity, since I'm always fascinated by this.
Do you know how I got into studying creativity? My latest book is called The 7 Stages of Creativity. But do you know what got me into studying creativity?
What?
I was giving a talk on the Internet of Things, and AI and singularity and symbiosis and all this shit these are Stephen Hawking and Elon Musk and Bill Gates. People are really smart people are looking at this AI shit and saying, hey, we're in trouble. So I was really studying the crap out of this stuff and realized that what's happening is the world's being reduced to data, like self-driving cars, right?
Yeah.
The entire driving process, the roads, the maps, the traffic, the obstacles in the road, pedestrians crossing, all that has been reduced to data, which makes the machines a lot better at processing it. And so this idea of the world being reduced to data, I mean, I meditated on that. I studied that. I sat, in my hot tub drinking beer and mulling this shit over and realized that if the entire world reduces to data, the machines are going to be better at navigating the world than we are.
Yep.
So our only hope is that some of the world doesn't reduce to data, so that there will be something that we're better at than the machines.
So what is that?
Creativity, right? It all goes down. Think about it, right? You never notice that the grandmasters don't challenge the machines anymore when it comes to like Jeopardy and chess.
Yes,
they don't bother because they're going to get smoked, man.
Yeah,
but the machines can play our games better, but the machines can't create the games.
Yes.
So to me, that's where humanity has to lie. It's the creative processes that are going to be. They may not even reduce to data. If so, they're going to be the last things that reduce to data, and it's humans' only hope. And so I just started studying creativity, right? What's the neuroscience behind this stuff? And I came up with some just really, really interesting insights, and I'm a writer, so when I come up with interesting shit, then I write about it. And so that was I called it the 7 stages of creativity. I broke down the creative processes in the 7 stages. It's important for you humans to get good at this, because the machines are going to take all the other jobs.
I mean, the fascinating thing about that is, I again now open up my mind to thinking of something I didn't think of, which is, they can't. They're not good at creating new games or new things. I mean,
have you seen
new innovation?
There's some machine-designed furniture and machine-designed
I don't even want to know what that looks like.
Dude, it's not only ugly, it's uncomfortable as hell, man.
Could you imagine even putting it in your office? Yeah, it's like, hey, by the way, artificial intelligence painted that picture up there. It's like,
God, it's just awful. And so, you realize that there is something else that humans add to this. And so, I kept asking myself, well, what is it? And how do we nurture that? And my first bit of study kind of alarmed me, because I look into what are we teaching our kids in school, and it's STEM, right? It's science and technology and engineering and mathematics, and where's the art? Where's the free thinking? Where's the drawing? Where's the invention? Where's the innovative spirit? It's not there. We're creating minions.
Yeah.
And so I started breaking down creativity and realizing you actually can make yourself creative. We're all creative. You think about it. When you were a little kid, before you went to school and we're told you got to think this way, this is the most important stuff you got to learn, and it's going to be on the test. Before that, you were a little kid. You came out of your mom knowing nothing. And you devoured the world around you, man. You were creating your own games. You were creating your own reality. You could sit in a car and look out the window and imagine, a completely different. Your imagination was amazing.
Yep.
And then between school and then adolescence, which is probably worse, that's when any sort of creative thought is, oh, no, you got to think like the herd, right? And so creativity is just kind of pounded out of us. And so this came about as a 2-year process of studying the neuroscience behind creativity and the best ways to learn new things. And it spawned a book, and it spawned a course that I teach weekly at monthly at Microsoft. And I pack them in, and they walk away just kind of stunned.
What's the name of that course?
The 7 Stages of Creativity.
You got
to
have to take that course.
Yeah, you got to come out. I'll blow. You said you had 3 talks. I'll blow your mind for the 4th time.
So I want to ask a final question.
We got to stop?
Well, I don't have to necessarily stop. We could go for a while if you want to. We don't have to have any final question just yet. But, so creativity, AI, I mean, realistically, how far away are we from a world where machines run a majority of the things?
So that's kind of the $1 million question. I mean, most certainly we are at a point where we are able to reduce the world to data, right? Driving, bussing tables. And you think about the field of law. If you're a lawyer, you got to be looking at the machine saying, I'm gone.
Yes.
That is nothing but data. All the books of law, all the laws and legislation themselves, all the case precedent throughout history could be consumed by a robot lawyer in seconds as opposed to decades. And you get answers in decades as opposed to, $400 an hour 6 months later and you're broke, right? The lawyer's going to do this. There's already robot lawyers in Britain overturning speeding tickets. There's robot lawyers working on immigration even as we speak.
Wow.
Tons of low-hanging fruit there because it's all a field of data. So that's what's new about the Internet of Things. It's not just taking blue-collar jobs. It's taking white-collar jobs as well. So you look into the future and literally, you see the fields of accounting, you see the fields of finance, you see the fields of law, you see the fields of politics. I mean, you can have a robot be president without biases, without greed, without... And so, the thing that's going to slow it down the most isn't technology. The thing that's going to slow it down the most is people getting comfortable being in a car that doesn't have a steering wheel.
That's right.
People being comfortable taking advice from a machine as opposed to a human that has a personality that they can relate to. And then laws as well. Laws that will, disadvantage the machines and advantage the humans because we're scared of change. We're scared of, right? We want to make America great again. We want to move ourselves into the past, and so a lot of it is just going to be our acceptance of it. But, frankly, we don't have a choice. Whether this is 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, it can't be much longer than that because we've got big data. Our algorithms are getting smarter and smarter. The data is getting more and more organized. It's coming, and we can either know that it's coming and we can plan for it, or we can be surprised as hell when it comes and takes our job away from us.
So why the regressionist, regressionist sort of like feeling out there in the world, Brexit, Trump, all these other things. Is it putting our head in the sand?
Dude, if you were in charge of the world and you had been in charge of the world for generation after generation after generation, and all of a sudden you look into the next generation and you say, shit, I'm not going to be in charge anymore.
Yeah, I'd want to go backwards too.
You want to go backwards, right? And so what we're seeing is the last stand of the old rich white guy. And it's gonna change, right? It's going to change. This happened, the Industrial Revolution with the British aristocracy. This happened. They tried their best to pass as many laws. You cannot stop progress. And so here's my message. If you want to close out, we'll close out.
Yeah.
Here's my message to all the politicians and all these people who think that they can decide that they want to move the world into the past. They don't need to make that decision. Because you know who's in charge? The technologists. right? You can say, let's start digging for coal again. Sorry, the technology has already passed you, right? If you want to go to the future, follow the people who can code, because we always get there first.
Yep.
Since the 90s, and really since the 80s and the IBM mainframe era.
That's right. Yeah.
We have decided the rate of progress. Silicon Valley, Seattle, right? These technological hubs. We're in charge. Sorry, Donald. Get used to this shit. You will go where technology will take you. And technology is pointed at the future, not at the past.
James Whittaker, glad you could join me for an episode of Disruptive FM. If you have questions, comments, if this is an episode that maybe pissed you off, which is good, make sure you reach out to us on Twitter at Disruptive FM or use the hashtag Disruptive FM. Until next week when Cheryl joins me again, we'll catch you next time.
You've been listening to Disruptive FM, the marketing podcast for eccentric minds.
It's strange, but I don't need space for me. And every single thing you do, I like.
You've been listening to an episode of Disruptive FM, the marketing podcast for eccentric minds. Remember to subscribe to the show on iTunes. Purchase a copy of Geoffrey's latest book, Disruptive Marketing, on Kindle, hardcover and audio. Signing off from the city of Seattle. Press pause.